does Billy Maximoff want at the end of the road?
Power doesn't interest me. I want something else, something more.
Two harbingers of doom?
The only danger to us in this trial is Agatha Harkness.
I do not trust you.
You're so much like your mother.
Mom!
Feels like there's a story there.
Get ready for fireworks! Get ready for spectacle!
In the end, all roads lead to me.
Admit it, you prefer me.
Horizontal? In a grave?
This can end right here, right now.
Will Agatha Harkness finally meet her?
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel just dropped a brand new Agatha All Along trailer all about Billy Maximoff, aka Wiccan, from the comics, so we'll break it all down. They're calling it the mid-season trailer, so there's a bunch of footage from the rest of the season in this, but they mix in some old footage too. Mostly confirming a lot of theories that people had about who the characters are and what's going on in general and how this ties to WandaVision, Scarlet Witch, what Billy really wants on the road, why he's walking the road in the first place. Literally, that's how they start the trailer, with Agatha Harkness saying, what does Billy Maximoff want at the end of the road? Like, what's his wish that he's going to make? Then there's footage to explain how Billy came back after the events of WandaVision if he seemingly died when the Hex came down. Like, we literally see those events take place. So it seems like they'll largely cover that during episode 6, and that'll be a little bit like WandaVision episode 8, where they did the tour of Wanda's backstory to explain how she got to where she is with the Avengers in Vision in present day, how she wound up in Westview in the first place, how she created the Hex. So prepare yourself for a really big flashback episode, and then obviously they get on with Lilia's trial, which seems like it'll be episode 7. Then episode 8 will probably be a lot of big reveals about what's going on with Rio's Death character, because we all believe that she's playing the cosmic entity Death, or Mistress Death, from the MCU. Literally during the trailer, she says, all roads lead to me, as in all roads eventually lead to death, like you will all eventually die. That leaves episode 9 like the actual finale for them just wrapping up all the storylines. But remember, they're actually airing episode 8 and episode 9 back to back at the same time in that final week, meaning that they'll probably just play like one big story split into two. I'm kind of wondering now too if Rio is going to get her own trial, because technically the rules for the way that she exists on the road are a little bit different from the other witches of the Coven. Technically, Rio is not a witch, she's a cosmic entity, one of the most powerful cosmic entities. So the whole idea is that she's not bound to a lot of the same rules of the road that the others are, but a little bit, like she is bound to some rules of magic, as she explained earlier in the episode. That was why the summoning spell selected her randomly, because she just happened to be the closest, most powerful being nearby. That was also meant to be a bit of a joke too, tongue-in-cheek, because as a cosmic entity, Death, she's omnipresent, as in she is everywhere, like Death is everywhere, all around you. And the Rio we're seeing here is probably just a manifestation that she chooses to put herself in this physical body that can interact with other characters at any given time. But her true cosmic consciousness is vast, like across the entire universe, but there's a different version of Death in every single universe, so she's not like a multiversal being. It's the same way with a lot of the other cosmic entities too, like there's one version of Eternity in every single universe. Eternity is sort of like the living embodiment of the entire universe. So if you're talking about cosmic hierarchy, Eternity would be above the cosmic entity Death in terms of power. But that was why we saw Mistress Death's statue in the Temple of Cosmic Entities during Thor Love and Thunder. So a couple key things here at the beginning of the trailer when Agatha calls Billy out as Billy Maximoff, not as Billy Kaplan. So what it seems like they're changing from the comics is just the way they're explaining his character in present day here. In the comics, Billy, Wanda's child, is resurrected in the body of Billy Kaplan, completely separate person, so it's like young Billy Maximoff's soul put into Billy Kaplan's teenage body without him knowing that he's Billy Maximoff. He doesn't find that out till later. On the show, it seems like the way they're explaining this in the MCU is that young Billy's body was destroyed when the Hex came down. Like you see the Hex coming down during this trailer footage. So we're seeing like the very end of WandaVision here when Wanda took the Hex down. Young Billy and Tommy's bodies were destroyed, but their spirits lived on. And it seems like what happened here, the way they're explaining this, is that we see Joe Locke, teenage character here, is Billy Kaplan, completely separate person inside the MCU at this point, in the car with his mother, who's also a Kaplan. They're driving to Eastview. Like he said earlier in the series, he's from Eastview. As the hex comes down, chaos ensues. They get into a car accident, and it seems like Billy is killed in that car accident. So getting back to Rio being Death, you have to imagine that Death comes to claim his soul because he's dead now. This is Billy Kaplan, R.I.P., leaving this empty husk of a body. And while that's happening, the hex is coming down. Young Billy Maximoff's body is destroyed. His soul just zooms into Billy Kaplan's teenage body. So it's young Billy Maximoff's spirit just borrowing Billy Kaplan's body. In this whole time during WandaVision, he's the person that put the sigil on himself so that he couldn't give away any secrets, because it sounds like he wanted to walk the road in order to try and find a way to bring his mother, Scarlet Witch, and his brother, Tommy, back too, because Tommy doesn't have magic the way that Billy has magic. So if it wasn't clear, I think this trailer is telling us that this whole time, Billy knew that he had magic, had this power, and he was just hiding all these things from Agatha and the other witches, using the sigil to try and help him do that. But now that's all come down, so when he manifests his magical crown, like Scarlet Witch's crown, and starts throwing them all into the mud, he always had that power and was just hiding that from them. Now he's the most powerful person on the road with them. But he's always been the most powerful person on the road with them. They're just learning that now. And it seems like he thinks of himself as Billy Maximoff, like he's not going to go around calling himself Billy Kaplan or anything like that. So I'm guessing that in the MCU, they've swerved on the reincarnation aspect of it, and it just winds up being young Billy's spirit jumping into Billy Kaplan's teenage body. And earlier in the series, when he told the other witches that a lot has happened to him in the last 3 years, what he was really talking about, this body died, and he also died inside the hex, and his spirit just jumped into this other body. So he's been trying to get used to that, and he's been trying to find a way to bring his brother Tommy back, and then his mother. So a lot has happened since the end of WandaVision, because that happened 3 years ago. Also 3 years ago is when Agatha was put back into the spell by Scarlet Witch, so like a lot has happened to all of them in the past 3 years. Now notice when Agatha is questioning him here, she's covered in mud, walking down the road to confront him, meaning that this is after they are rescued from the mud themselves. But there's actually a scene later where you see Lilia and Jennifer underground covered in mud, so it seems like when they get thrown into the mud, they just sink below into this underneath place beneath the road. There's a bunch of laundry carts down there too, so you kind of wonder what's going on in this room. It feels a little bit like the Labyrinth movie when she was thrown all over the place, all of these deep dark rooms. Like there's this whole underlayer beneath the road itself. Then we see Billy's hand, because he has the 2 rings on his finger, drawing the circle, getting ready to cast this incantation. It's probably the precursor to this scene where you actually see the hex symbol with the blue energy of his magic. When he says power doesn't interest him, he's just eventually revealing why he's on the road in the first place. He's basically trying to find a way to bring his brother Tommy and his mother back, I think, as we all theorized. When he says he wants something else, something more, like I said, they cut that together with the scene of Agatha and Billy in what looks like another trial. This seems like Billy's trial, inside a space that looks like a morgue, which is probably connected to the way they explain how he came back. Like we'll probably see a lot of metaphors here for Billy Kaplan's dead body that young Billy's soul just jumps into after the events of WandaVision. I'm also assuming that when this happens to the 2 of them, Jennifer and Lilia are still trapped below ground while this is happening, otherwise they'd be in here too. It looks like her putting her hands on his head has something to do with unlocking memories or some knowledge that he doesn't have available to him at the moment. There's a couple different scenes of the Salem 7 attacking them inside this makeshift castle, which seems like it's from Lilia's trial, where they all play witches from different pop culture movies. This castle they see on the horizon seems like Lilia's trial. This scene of her covered in mud laughing with her hands in the air is probably after she makes her way out of the mud. Remember, she has a little bit of power, but Billy also might pull her out because he needs her specifically. He did not need the other witches though. All because she successfully walked the road before, but the other witches have not. He reveals that he hasn't trusted her this whole time. We get that scene of her saying that he's just like Scarlet Witch, his mother again, which we got in episode 5. We'll probably get a couple more Scarlet Witch Wanda name drops too, like there were a bunch of Wanda name drops during the first episode. There's that funny pratfall of her saying, get ready for fireworks, and then falling on her face. There's a scene of Agatha having her pratfall. She's still covered in mud. Also, you see Jennifer behind her. So at this point, Billy has rescued the other witches too. When she mentions fireworks, there's that scene that they've been putting in all the trailers of Rio in more of like a Mistress Death type of comic book costume, walking away from the exploding house. And if you couldn't tell, that is meant to be Rio in this outfit. When she says spectacle, this footage seems like it's actually Agatha in the 1800s fighting the Daughters of Liberty, which she mentioned in the earlier episode, how she got that scar fighting them, basically killing them, taking their power. R.I.P. to all these witches. They cut it with a totally different scene of her also stealing someone's magic, but she's in a leather jacket, which just seems like it's happening later in the timeline. We'll probably get more of Agatha's backstory across the timeline in future episodes just to explain what she was doing era to era. Mostly killing other witches and stealing their power, it sounds like. Briefly stop for a hot second to have a baby named Nicholas Scratch, though. Still waiting to get more Nikki Scratch backstory. Not sure what's happening here with this exploding house and her just covered in all these different cuts. This seems like it's something that's happening in present day. Like I said, we get that scene of Rio saying, all roads lead to me, because she is probably Mistress Death, as in everybody eventually dies. Everyone will eventually meet her. These scenes of her with the green fire in the green outfit seems like it's from the 1800s flashbacks. Also maybe some flashbacks to her during the events of the Salem witch trials and when Agatha eventually killed her mother's coven. Just to explain how she met Agatha, like how did Agatha wind up running into the cosmic entity Death? What was the beginning of their relationship? Because it sounds like they knew each other for a long time, like they were together for a long time. Then she has Nicholas Scratch, something happens to him, he winds up dying, and she's forced to claim him because she is Death, like that's part of her job, as she said. Then they split up because Agatha hates her for it, and she goes on to the events of WandaVision, trying to steal Scarlet Witch's power using the Darkhold. Sounds like her whole reason for that was because she wanted to find a way to bring Nicholas Scratch back from the dead. There's been a lot of speculation about who this mystery guy is in the hat with the jacket faced around. Because he's so tall and lanky looking with the longer hair, this might just be Billy trying to disguise himself. Just because in all these trailers, how many other brand new male characters have you met during the series? Not that many. Most of all the weird trailer shots that they're showing of all these characters from different angles and trying to obscure faces are of the main characters, and Billy is just one of the main characters. So if this does wind up being a version of Billy disguising himself, this might just be early on after he first jumped into Billy Kaplan's body. There's a scene of a bunch of vines grabbing Agatha with blood all over her. My assumption is that all the vines have something to do with Rio. Because at the end of the trailer here, when they're showing all this footage of Agatha being all bloodied up, there's the voiceover from Rio saying, will Agatha Harkness finally meet her end? Like, will she finally die? There's a bigger fight scene inside Lilia's trial with the Salem 7. This scene might be a flashback to the younger version of Lilia, just because she looks similar to Lilia from the previous flashbacks. We get a much better look at them inside Lilia's trial to see which characters they're portraying. So Agatha is the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz. Lilia is Glinda, the Good Witch of the North. Billy is Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. And it looks like Jennifer is the Wicked Witch from Snow White. I'm assuming all the swords falling is just something from the actual trial itself, just the way it works. Not sure what Rio is doing on top of this house cackling, but notice she's also wearing another hood. Always wearing hoods, because you see Death depicted wearing hoods in the comics all the time. You also notice that the entire sky is green, so this actually might be from one of the final episodes. There's a bunch of new footage though, so if there's anything that you spotted, any Easter eggs or references or big questions you have that I didn't address in this video, write them below in the comments. In my full episode 6 video, we'll post on Wednesday morning after they release it. Like I said, probably mostly going to be a big Billy episode to explain the rest of how he got to where he is in present day. Like, how did he come back after the events of WandaVision? What is he doing on the road in the first place? Like, how is he going to bring Tommy back? How is he going to bring Scarlet Witch back? Joe Locke also did an interview just about his Billy Wiccan character to explain they're not doing any specific comic book arcs for the Agatha Coven of Chaos series. He specifically mentioned Young Avengers, the Children's Crusade, because that was the story where Billy and Tommy realize that they're twins and they realize that Scarlet Witch is their mother and they try to find a way to save her. Doctor Doom was also a big part of that story, but I think the reason why they're not adapting that for any of what's happening right now with like Agatha Coven of Chaos or the Vision Quest series is because they're saving some of that plot for a big movie. Like there's supposed to be a big Scarlet Witch movie, so we might see some of that rolled into what that winds up turning into. He also said he's just really jazzed up to come back and do more big Marvel stuff in the movies and future TV shows too. So like obviously this isn't the last time you're gonna see Billy inside the MCU. My early theory right now is that they'll bring Tommy back on another upcoming TV show at some point in the same type of twist where his spirit just comes into another person's body. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up though. Everyone click here for my full Agatha episode 6 video. I'll update the link as soon as I post that, and click here for all my other Agatha episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.